This is Drew Jones of Drew's Guitar Shop in Seattle, Washington, and today I'm actually not in my shop. I'm actually at home because I'm taking a week off for the holidays. I wanted to do a little bit of a video showing you this guitar, though. This is the last thing that I was working on Friday before I left, and it's a Frankenstrat that has a lot of different things going on it. It's a lot of ideas that have been cooking up here for a little while that I wanted to try. The first is that I had this kooky idea for doing something involving passive piezo pickups in an electric guitar. That ended up going out really well. I'll talk about that in a minute. I wanted to try out these Alnico 5 pickups that I found on eBay they looked good, and I wanted to see if they were good, and turns out they are. I liked them. And I wanted to try out putting together two of these push-pull switches that I've been doing for a little while, and I kind of just wanted to make a guitar that had both of them in it just to try it out and see if I liked it. And that ended up going out really well too. One of the other things that I wanted to try was that I wanted to see if I could take the cheapest possible guitar that I could get that was like an actual instrument off of eBay and turn it into a playable instrument. And so that's what all this is. This is a whole bunch of different things going on at the same time. This is a project kind of in the works for, for a month or two, just kind of in my off time in between repairs, and mainly just for fun. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about these things kind of in the order that I'm interested in them. It may not be the order that you're interested, so skip around if you want. I'm going to go ahead and start off by talking to you about these piezos. So piezo pickups are like crystal pressure pickups. They're the kind of thing that you generally put in like an undersaddle thing to, amplify an acoustic guitar. Well, so when I'm a surf rock fan and I'm a rockabilly fan, and like two of the big guitars that are used in those styles of music are these big hollow body Gretsches that have this twang, but they also have this like deep throatiness to them that's just like really satisfying. You listen to like Dwayne Eddy or you listen to like Eddie Cochran. That's kind of what you're getting is that big, deep, throaty, that Gretsch. And the other kind of style that you hear a lot of times is standard old Strat. And Strats sound great. They're punchy though. Like they don't have that throatiness, but they got that zing, that very direct sort of cutting, light sort of sound that's just very, very nice. Very, very nice. And I wanted to see if I could kind of combine those two elements in a single guitar. Well, so that was what the piezos are about. One of the cool things about Strat-style guitars is that they may not be known for their sustain, and they may not be known for having a whole lot of connection to the body, but they are known for being acoustically active. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one is that these things are really hollowed out usually. There's a lot of space in here, and there's this like thin membrane of this pick guard that's over some hollow areas, and there's also these springs in the back of the guitar and that hollow back cavity that kind of generate these little like tone chambers in this thing naturally, and can kind of mean that when you sit down and play your Strat, it's like one of the electric guitars that you can sit and jam on unplugged, and it sounds pretty nice. You can listen to it and enjoy it. And I thought, wow, I wonder if I could harness that and use some piezos and, get some of that body sound into the electric tone of the instrument, which is not something that you normally have. Normally when you plug in a Strat, like all that acoustic tone just goes away. That's not something that's present in the pickups usually, unless you have some really microphonic pickups. So that's what I ended up doing. So if you look on this guitar, you'll notice that I have a little black knob down here, and that is a knob that simply adjusts the volume of just the piezo pickups. The piezo pickups are in here in a few different strategic spots that I picked out just based on their kind of like their activeness with the energy from these strings. And what that knob enables you to do is it enables you to mix more or less of that body tone in, or it enables you to cut the mag pickups out completely and just listen to the acoustic tone. The acoustic tone on this thing, not necessarily the best, but I could picture some instances in which you'd use it, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead by starting off with mainly just the mag pickups that you're going to hear. strings. Anyway, so that's what that sounds like. I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit more of that body sound. Actually, I'm just going to bump it all the way up to 10. I'll let you listen to what it sounds like with that. You can hear a little bit more of that sustain, can't you? A little bit more of that body. So I'm going to go ahead and even bump that up just a little bit higher. You can really hear it then. And there's a whole world of space in between where you can really kind of add in a little bit more, a little bit less. And the thing is that, like, you know, all of those settings in between kind of create just a different kind of color palette that you can paint with this instrument. And it's just very nice to have that. One of the other things that you can do with it, though, is like if you cut the mag pickups out completely and you just play through the piezos, you also have this. Which again, like I said, it doesn't sound the best. I wouldn't go up and I wouldn't play a set with this. But I do a lot of home recording, and the thing that I thought when I heard that at first was like, you know, that would be really great for double tracking. If you sat down and you did your first recording with the mag pickups, and then when you went back through and double tracked, if you'd used this setting here, you'd have this much higher, punchier thing that you could mix in and kind of get just a little more punch, a little bit more high end out of that guitar. But you could also just kind of offset it a little bit and really do some interesting post-production stuff with it. That was what came to mind for me. But, you know, if you wanted to, you could, you know, during a set, you know, use your fingers here, and you could like kind of lower that, raise it, use that as kind of an effect, you know. Just some ideas that I'm kind of tossing out there, kind of related to that, but it does really kind of work for what I wanted, which was to have kind of a, you know, best of both worlds with that kind of chonkiness of that Gretsch sort of tone, and also with the you know, with the standard Strat tone. The mag pickups in here sound great. I really like them. I'm gonna go ahead and just give us a little bit of the mag, you know, kind of both pickups together, honestly, but I mean, I think these sound great. That's just the bridge pickup. One of the other things that you might notice is that this guitar sounds a little bit lower than you might expect from a guitar. That is because when I did all the work to this, I converted it into a baritone. So this guitar is actually tuned to B. It's got much thicker strings, really designed to kind of hit those Duane Eddy notes. Let's see. Not Duane Eddy, but you can kind of hear what I'm going for there. Very cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to play through the electric settings on this so that you can hear what those sound like. The first is that I wanted to go ahead and just play the pickups in general. So that was the bridge. We're going to listen to the bridge middle now. We'll go to the middle pickup here. And go ahead and go to the bridge middle setting here. Then up to the bridge, up to the next setting. So, I'm going to go ahead and show you the phase settings. The phase settings really only matter for the in-between bridge neck, or the in-between bridge neck and the in-between neck middle. Sorry, I think I've flubbed that. In-between bridge middle and in-between neck middle are the settings where you can use that phase. So, I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of that for you. Go ahead and just pop this switch up. Without the phase. This is with the phase. And kind of the application in which you'd use that. Oh, sorry, I'm coughing. I haven't drunk a lot of water. Is if you wanted something that had just a little bit more punch. So if you're doing some like B-52 stuff, you know, you could use that. Going down here to the in between the bridge and the middle setting, even more punchy. And there is a little bit of a volume drop, but you do get this much more narrow projection of which frequencies are making it through, which really make it very, very punchy, very thin. And that's very nice for cutting through a mix. If you really need something that's going to like go right through. It's also like one of these things, there's kind of a school of thought where like you mix basses kind of high and you mix other things kind of low. Like if they're high instruments, you mix them low. If you, there's some folks that'll do a little bit of that with you know, post-production. And the reason that you do that in some cases is if you really want that bass to kind of come through, like if you're doing like a funk mix or something like that, and you just really want that snappiness, that's what you would do. And that's what this setting gives you for this guitar. So that's cool. Another thing that you have on this guitar is this setting here. This actually just turns on the neck pickup no matter where the pickup selector is. So right now we're in the bridge setting on the selector, and we're going to pop this up, and we're going to hear what it sounds like when I add that neck pickup. So this is just the bridge. We're going to add that neck. You can hear there's a little bit of a volume bump, and you get a lot more throatiness because you're picking up everything that's happening in here. That's a much wider area of string to be picked up than you typically get on a Strat. Normally, like you only see that setting on like a Duosonic or a Mustang or a Jazzmaster or something like that. But typically you don't have access to that sound on a Strat. What I did with this was I made it so that that will come on also if you have it in the setting between the bridge and the middle. And so this is actually all three pickups on at once. You can have that 12-year-old dream of having all the pickups on at once, you know? Really throaty. Really kind of a lot of frequencies there, but kind of cool. And again, just not something that you generally get access to on a Strat, but you have access to it here. And gosh, I mean, a lot of these modifications were just a lot of fun to do, and they've been things I've been thinking about cooking for a while. One of the other things that I wanted to add to with the piezo pickups, for you guys who like to do all that tapping stuff with your acoustic guitars, you can do that on this. This is an acoustically active surface as far as that amp is concerned. And so if you're wanting to do that kind of thing on here, you can do that with this guitar. And, you know, it'll come through with what you're doing. And I think that's also a pretty cool effect. One of the other things that you get with that piezo too, though, that I was thinking about and I was really hoping it would come through, and it does, there's a little bit of natural reverb there. And it's from those springs that are in that back cavity from having that floating bridge. And, you know, it's just kind of a nice little touch. You can hear it. I'm going to see if I can generate something that'll really demonstrate that for you. So taking that out, that's just our mags. When I go and I put in a lot of that piezo though, you can hear that little bit of extra something, a little bit more sustain and a little bit of reverb. This video is already 18 minutes long. I think I've shown you enough. The only thing that I have left to talk about is the guitar itself. Like I said, I bought this guitar for very, very cheap on eBay. It was $60 new with the case, cheap case, with a strap and with a plug and all that stuff. It was a, you know, starter guitar pack. And I just wanted to see if I could turn it into a decent instrument. There were some issues with it, ordering it. I don't recommend going out there and getting one of these things. I definitely don't recommend going out and buying a new guitar for like $60 and expecting it to play. My expectation here was that there was like a 50% chance that I was completely wasting my money and a 100% chance that I was going to have to do a lot of work on it to make it playable, which was the case. I was glad that I didn't waste my money, but I also, like, you know, ran into the stuff that I was expecting, which was kind of like cheap hardware. It had some really cheap little string trees on here, which can cause a lot of pinching if you're going to be using your tremolo a lot, and I replaced those with rollers. I replaced that cheap ABS saddle with, or ABS nut with a bone one. And I went through and worked on all the frets. Fretwork is a real bummer, folks. On cheap guitars, that's always the corner that is going to be cut. The frets in this guitar were just pounded in, and they were not worked at all. And so it's just fret wire sitting there on top of the fretboard. I went in there and I level crown polished all of them, so they all look nice. They're all very level now, and they all play very nicely. But that work did have to be done. It is done now, and so you'll be getting the good version. You know, and as far as anything else goes, the only other complaint that I had was that it did have a little crack down here, and the color layer on this, normally when we do guitar finishing, the color layer is like really like kind of deep down. Like we shoot our, you know, we shoot our wash coat, maybe a day of lacquer, and then we shoot our color coat, and then we shoot the rest of our clear coat over that so that we have a lot of stuff that we can kind of wet sand and polish without going through the color. This color is sitting kind of close to the surface, because when I actually had to fix that crack, I filled it in with a little bit of cyanoacrylate, because this is a polyurethane finish, and went ahead and wet sanded it, and as soon as I touched it with a sandpaper, that color just went away. So this is color that's sitting kind of close to the surface. It does look nice, though. I gotta say, like for a three-tone sunburst, this is pretty nice. Pretty nice work. Better than I would expect, for sure. Yeah, no complaints about the finish work, really. But that one thing, and that's not really going to be a thing that the player is worried about. That's just a repair person irritation that I had, because like color just shouldn't be that close to the surface. The neck on this guitar is kind of why I decided to turn this into a baritone. It's a big chonky neck, which I was figuring could go either way. Some of the cheap guitars that I run into have thin necks, some of them have chonky necks, kind of tend more towards the chonky side. But it's a comfortable chonky neck. It's like a very deep U, almost a V. Like it's very comfortable, very ergonomic, and that enables you to get more leverage. And that was why I decided, okay, this would make a nice baritone because you're having those heavier strings that you're pushing down. You know, just more meat that you need to kind of deal with there, and so that bigger neck actually kind of helps. Different people feel differently about necks. Guys who play like speed metal and stuff oftentimes like really thin necks so that they can just like zip up and down the neck. You know, you barely see their thumb on the thing at all. People who play like a lot of jazz, where you know you're doing a lot of really complex you know, barring and stuff, tend to like to have those chonky necks, and part of the reason for that is because that bigger neck gives you more material, it's more ergonomic, and it causes less cramps down here, more comfortable to hold. And so, you know, I'd actually consider that a plus on this instrument. If you don't like chonky necks, this one might not be for you, but I think it works really well for what it is. And what it is, you know, a baritone guitar. It's a project, it's a Frankenstrat. So, you know, this is a really cool guitar. If you were impressed with what you saw here, this may be the guitar for you. It's definitely unique. You're not going to run into another thing probably like this until I like make another one, which, you know, may take a while because I hardly ever get to work on personal projects at the shop these days. I'm so busy. Yeah, if this guitar is for sale, there's a link to the Reverb ad in the description here, and if that link goes to an active ad, this guitar is for sale. So keep that in mind, and you know, click on it, and if it's there, if you want it, bam, just shoot me an order, or let me know and come pick it up here in Seattle. There's also a link down there to my Ko-Fi and my Patreon, and if you found this video cool or helpful and you want to kick me a few bucks, it definitely helps me make these videos, make it worth my while to do them. There's a lot of videos on my channel that are more dedicated to like repairing stuff, like tips and tricks for guitar players, stuff for like amateur luthiers, and I also do a lot of videos about guitars that I fixed up and I'm selling at the shop, which are sort of like reviews. So if you're interested in a guitar that I've happened to have sold in the past, like, you know, you may find something in there for you. Yeah, and if you know anybody else who's into those kind of videos, just, you know, kick them to my channel and, you know, tell them to enjoy. I've also got a link down there to my contact page on my website, and that has my pricing on it, my contact info, and also has a little page in there on like caring for stringed instruments, which if you're a player, which I imagine you are if you're watching this, you know, you might be interested in. This has been Drew Jones of Drew's Guitar Shop at home for the holidays. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.